One of the central ideas behind OnePlus is to deliver a top-tier flagship phone without the exorbitant price tag. But despite the promise to never settle, there have always been nagging compromises. Last year, the OnePlus 5 and 5T had unspectacular cameras and lacked table stakes features like water resistance. At $529, the OnePlus 6 is a slightly more expensive phone than either of its predecessors, but the extra $50 markup has been well spent. The new phone has a luxurious design, splash-resistant properties, and important camera upgrades. And as a result, it's a much more tempting buy than anything in the company's distinguished back catalogue. I'm Alex from Android Central, and this is our review of the OnePlus 6. So I've been using the OnePlus 6 in mirror black with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, which sells for $579. The base model at $529 gives you 6GB and 64GB, or you can go up to a ridiculous 8 plus 256 for $629. There are two other colour options in addition to mirror black, both of which have a softer matte finish. Midnight Black doesn't really look or feel like glass, with its textured surface that's more reminiscent of brushed metal, and Silk White combines lighter hues with a rose gold trim. Other key hardware includes a Snapdragon 845 processor and a super tall 19x9 Full HD Plus optic AMOLED display and a dash charging 3300 mAh battery. And like the past couple generations of OnePlus, this is a dual SIM phone supporting just about every LTE band out there. Although the screen measures 6.28 inches diagonally, the footprint isn't any bigger than either of last year's OnePlus phones. And for me, the move to a glass-backed chassis has actually made it easier to hold onto in one hand, though I have found myself missing some of the one-handed gestures that other large phones offer. OnePlus sticks at around 1080p resolution for the display of the OnePlus 6, but this is still a fantastic looking panel. It's bright enough for easy daylight visibility with colours that are punchy but not overdone. It's not noticeably inferior to the screen of the Galaxy S9 Plus I've been using alongside it, at least not unless you look really close. Oh yeah, the notch. It's really not a huge deal. I haven't run into any compatibility issues in apps, and it's easy to black out the area either side of the display cutout so you just see the time and your status bar icons without any coloured backdrop. The slim screen borders lend the OnePlus 6 a more futuristic look compared to some competitors, although the display doesn't run all the way down to the bottom like the iPhone X does, there's still a small chin down below. The design is easily OnePlus's most impressive yet. The all-screen front face looks sharp, and the curved Gorilla Glass 5 back is attractive and ergonomic. Although it is a little fingerprinty, I'm also enjoying the highly reflective look of the mirror black version. There's no wireless charging included, which will be disappointing for some, but I'm perfectly happy with the included dash charge, a staple OnePlus feature that hasn't changed in a couple of years, but remains one of the fastest fast charging standards. Just don't lose the bundled dash charger and cable because both are required to make dash charge work. One big feature we haven't seen so far in a OnePlus phone is water resistance, and the company is kind of dancing around exactly how water resistant the OnePlus 6 is. There's no IP rating included, but OnePlus tells me the right gaskets and seals are there for the phone to stand up against a little H2O. Officially that means it's splash resistant, so it should take more than a quick dunk to kill it off. OnePlus's OxygenOS software has a reputation for speed and cleanliness, and that hasn't changed here. The OnePlus 6 runs OxygenOS 5.1 out of the box, based on Android 8.1 Oreo. Not only are there very few preloaded apps or unnecessary features to slow the phone down, OnePlus says it's also doubled down on performance tuning in its latest software. OnePlus has tweaked the way Android apps are rendered to prevent overdraw. That's what happens when an app renders something to a part of the screen you won't be able to see. And there's a new gaming mode to help you get the most out of your games without background processors hogging your CPU cycles or bandwidth. It's hard to say whether it's noticeably quicker than the 5 or 5T, which were already blazingly fast, but in a world where Samsung still can't let me swipe into Bixby Home without stuttering all over the place, yeah, the smoothness and responsiveness of the OnePlus 6 shines through. The features that have been added to OxygenOS are mostly thoughtful and well done. You can choose light or dark themes with your own custom colour accent, the widget shelf now works with most apps' widgets, and the optional ambient display makes it easy to see messages when they arrive. In addition to fingerprint, which you'll find around the back, the OnePlus 6 inherits the 5T's face unlock system, which is not as secure but is extremely quick and convenient. And there are also plenty of gesture shortcuts to explore if that's your thing. Speaking of which, the OnePlus 6 also comes with gesture navigation for back, home and recents, though that's not enabled out of the box. If you want to dedicate the entire screen to your apps, you can enable it in the settings and replace Android's soft keys with a series of swipes up from the bottom bezel. Like most gesture navigation features, I played around with this before ultimately turning it off and going back to buttons. OnePlus's gestures remove useful Android features like the double tap on the Recents key to quickly hop between apps. And the pull and hold menu to get to the Recents menu is slow and not as intuitively animated as the iPhone equivalent. Plus, typing on a keyboard that reaches that far down the screen is just awkward. What's also awkward is the lack of any features to aid with one-handed use in a phone this tall. Unlike the 5T, you can't swipe on the fingerprint scanner to bring down the notification shade, and there's no way to temporarily shrink the screen so you can reach the top more easily like you can on Samsung, LG, and Huawei phones. Hopefully at least some of this stuff will be coming in a future software update. The difference between a good phone and a great phone is so often the camera capabilities. As good as OnePlus's phones have been up until now, a truly great photographic experience has been lacking. So the new camera rig in the OnePlus 6 might be its most important upgrade. It's a 16 megapixel sensor behind an f1.7 lens with optical stabilization, and the sensor itself is 19% bigger than the 5Ts with 1.22 micron pixels, all of which on paper should add up to improved low light performance. There's also a 20 megapixel secondary sensor also behind an f1.7 lens, but don't get too excited, that's just there to sense depth in portrait mode shots. Quick bit of background here, my Rufy unit has received 3 firmware updates since it arrived, with the most recent landing right before the launch event on May 16th. OnePlus says more updates are coming, including an upgrade to bring portrait mode to the front-facing camera. I mention updates here because with the most recent OTA, low light performance is actually pretty damn good. It seems to have improved markedly with successive updates. In a lot of situations with middling light, it basically goes toe-to-toe with the main camera of the Galaxy S9, with differences between the two only becoming apparent in very dark situations when both phones are in full auto mode. That's really surprising given the advantage in optics that Samsung enjoys. In brighter conditions, the difference between a OnePlus 6 photo and a shot from a more expensive phone is basically non-existent. The 6 more than holds its own, and in many cases the higher resolution sensor allows it to pull ahead. The main camera produces shots with even exposure, and Auto HDR is just sensitive enough, kicking in where needed to bring extra highlight and shadow detail. With prices nudging up to the mid-500s, OnePlus needed to improve photo quality, and it has. Even portrait mode is better than earlier models, though edge detection still isn't flawless. And in the video world, the jump up to 4K at 60 frames per second is a welcome upgrade, as is the option to shoot up to a minute of slow-mo footage, either 480 frames per second at 720p or 240 frames per second at 1080p. These are all important photo upgrades that enable the OnePlus 6 to nip at the heels of more expensive flagships in a way that the 5 and 5T never could. The only thing you're missing out on here is true telephoto zoom. Since the second camera is only used for depth sensing, you need to rely on digital zoom to get closer to the action. Let's close out by talking battery life, which has actually been a pleasant surprise for me. Although it packs an almost 6.3-inch display diagonal and a mere 3300 mAh battery, the OnePlus 6 manages to match the battery life of the 5T in day-to-day use, even in dual SIM mode. Outside of travel days with heavy use, I was getting around 16 hours per charge with between 4 and 6 hours of screen on time. That's a comfortable full day of use there, and better still, the bundled dash charger can quickly get you out of the danger zone if you're caught short. So another sign of a great phone is that you really have to look into the weeds to find anything to complain about. For me, the few nagging complaints I have with the OnePlus 6 have to do with small, easily fixable things like the lack of one-handed mode gestures rather than any central hardware or software flaw. More importantly, the cameras have improved to the point where I mostly no longer fear missing out on a good low-light shot when I carry a OnePlus phone. Still, there are some things that you miss out on compared to super premium Android flagships. There's no wireless charging, no true telephoto zoom like the S9 Plus and many others have, and no crazy magic AI night mode like the Huawei P20 Pro has. But OnePlus's software experience and performance trounces both Samsung and Huawei, and it does so at a considerably lower price. The OnePlus 6 might not be the best Android phone you can buy in every area, but it is greater than the sum of its parts in a way that its forerunners weren't. And if you've got a little over $500 to blow on a new phone, it should probably be your first stop. That's it for now. For more on the OnePlus 6, be sure to check out our written review and subscribe to Android Central here on YouTube so you don't miss the rest of our coverage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.